And here we are. This is Here Now with Steve Struggle and Dr. Abraheim Weizfeld here in Montreal, Quebec. And we've got a lot of catching up to do. There's many things that are happening all over the place. And as I was telling Steve beforehand, that we have a positive report of an achievement and a strategy to cope with ICE and its roundup of the undesirables in the U.S. Civil society, namely brown-skinned people from Mexico or South America who are being rounded up by ICE because they were not given the appropriate documentation to become a citizen or to become a refugee. Because, to claim refugee status in the country, like here in Canada, people come in here and claim refugee status, they immediately get Social Security and they get a permit to work while they're being considered, to be refugees. And that's what the people from South America are, is refugees, economic refugees or political refugees. Why would the people, make all that trouble for themselves and come to another country if they didn't have a good reason to do so? But now they're being rounded up and deported without legal process. So, what does this Philadelphia district attorney do? He brings about the appropriate legal process. Here, I'll give you a show. Share here. And there it is. This is the announcement. And it's coming up here. Okay. Now, Steve tells me that this is one of the more progressive Democrats. He's in the Democratic Party, but he's certainly not acting on behalf of the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party is doing nothing. This guy
Yeah,
has got it down. Okay.
yeah. I guess I just should clarify. He's considered a progressive district attorney. There's this movement in the United States of Democrats who have won district attorney positions, and whenever they come into power, I know of two in California, three in the last 10 years who've been voted out. Chesa Boudin, um, another man from LA, and the former DA of Oakland. Um, and they didn't do anything. They just said that they were going to treat police like normal citizens in the sense of when there was deaths or excessive brutality, they would look at it, they would not give them favor. And it was Gascon in LA County, Boudin in San Francisco County, and a female prosecutor in Alameda County. These are more urbanized liberal counties. And no one has ever talked about, I keep saying this to activists in Alameda and San Francisco. Um, who were the people behind these recall efforts or the campaign to unseat these DAs? Who are they and how did they pull it off? Because they all were elected. They were unappointed. They were all elected. And they all were unelected, which means something happened in the second election that was not to their favor. And how could the balance of forces change within 2 or 3 years? The one in LA, George Gascon, he unseated Jackie Lacey, a black woman who was a DA in LA County, and she would never, ever prosecute police or sheriff for anything. That was not going to happen on her watch. Gascon didn't do anything out of the ordinary except be a DA, and that was kind of it. He came in, beat her hands down. And a couple of years later, he was beaten hands down by somebody who now he was supported by the Republicans. Republicans sent out these flyers in the middle class neighborhoods in LA to sway you to vote against your best interest as a worker or even as a small shop owner or middle class person. And that's how he was beaten in Oakland. Pam Price was her name. Pamela Price was the district attorney. Um, she came in with people hating on her, people from San Francisco, big money, and the mayor. The mayor was recalled in Oakland with Pam Price, the same election, unprecedented in U.S. history. But no one talks about this election. How could that have happened? The FBI raided the mayor's house during the election campaign, says she was involved in corruption, blah, blah, blah. She's yet to be held, she's yet to have a trial. But she was put out of office with
Wow.
the same time as the DA. This has not happened a lot.
Wow.
Now you got, so when for Krasner to say this, trust me, they're gonna go after him.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're gonna go after him because he's standing up against Trump with legal precedents.
Yeah.
Nobody else has done that yet.
Yeah. But I hear there is another court case on economic law in which there was a number of corporations. Yeah, this was a corporate appeal to the judiciary saying that tariffs are a matter of concern only for the for the House of Representatives
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not the president. The president can only sort of,
Right.
deal with tariffs if it becomes a national emergency. But
Which it isn't.
which it isn't, and the courts, said, this is the normal sort of, like course of action, and to say that normality is, a crisis is a contradiction. So they made a decision against the tariff war that Trump has launched, So now, what's going to happen? Are the tariffs, that he's imposed, canceled just
Well,
automatically
well,
or
well,
what?
what
Like who knows?
what I heard was that the the tariffs are allowed to continue for some reason. Something's either the government has appealed it,
Ah,
and the
yeah,
tariffs are allowed to continue.
yeah,
But I think it's a very see the tariffs have really what's okay. Given the nature of the United States so-called democracy, under the Trump administration, Democratic Party has done very little to talk back to Trump and say, "Hey, you're wrong." This tariff thing is a big joke, right? Exactly what you said.
yeah,
Only the Congress can impose tariffs that he's doing.
yeah.
Most things he has done because he just does them. He's kind of like, oh, I'll ask you for forgiveness, not ask you for permission. So
Mm.
that's been his approach. I may ask for your forgiveness, and he doesn't ask for
Mhm.
forgiveness. He just does what he wants to do.
Mhm.
But the tariffs are being used for political reasons.
Uh,
There is no industry you are trying to protect here. You and I talked about that a few weeks ago on this program about if you're going to rebuild, if you're going to get let's say you get 5 auto plants. Let's say Subaru, Honda, Nissan, most of the people already have plants in the U.S. So, this kind of like building plants here. That's kind of like nonsense. But let's just say Honda, Toyota, Nissan, Subaru, and Range Rover build a plant in the United States. Let's look at 5 plants. Okay.
mm,
How many jobs will be in the plant?
mm, mm,
We don't even know. But it's not going to be the old school, everybody getting a job at the auto plant because you and I talked about the robotics
mm.
and the decrease in the number of people needed as the use of robotics increases. You and I talked about this.
Yeah.
So the
You've got an
whole thing
incredible
about,
graph there. Where do you
yeah,
can you get the access to that graph again? It was
oh
very
man.
dramatic,
I
the
mean, let me
scale at
see. I
which,
might it
real
was
jobs are falling,
it
off the
sure were.
graph, off the page.
They were
Like,
falling off the page. They were just going nowhere. It
yeah,
was something. It
yeah,
really was.
yeah.
And it was just so for Trump to. So I'm just saying the tariff strategy, there have been Republicans who have been distancing themselves from Trump quietly because their business people in their communities are losing money because it costs them more money to either buy the goods or the prices are going up so they can't hire people or lay people off. So it's absolute nonsense.
Wow.
Yeah, but because the Democratic Party, and I think also other parties haven't really stuck it to Trump. I mean, stuck it to him. I mean, really stuck it to him and laid out the facts, used the media to lay out the facts. He's gotten away with this stuff.
Mm,
He just gotten away with it. That's all. That's just what
mm.
he's done. It's just, it's just, yeah, okay. I actually I have the graph right here. Let me
Okay,
see if
so
I
I'll
can,
I'll read this statement here
right.
on Philadelphia, and if you
Yeah,
can find that graph, that would
I
be
have
what
it.
people
I
like.
no, I actually have it. I found it.
So it says here now, Philadelphia's, oh, they call them superstar Democratic. They put Democratic there in the front. Okay, District Attorney Larry Krasner, a rebel Democrat, okay, lays out a brilliant playbook for arresting and prosecuting Donald Trump's fascist ICE agents and troops as the MAGA crackdown spiral out of control. This plan even undermines the presidential pardon. Yeah, this is a war between the judiciary and the president. The American system whew, has yet to be decided what it's going to become. If what you have is a group of ICE agents, or you even have the military coming into Philadelphia and they're committing crimes, they're committing assaults that are illegal. This is a quote that are illegal, he says. Homicides that are illegal. They're kidnapping people. They're engaging in unlawful restraint, which is a crime in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Yeah, man. Unquote, Krasner said. Wow. They're obstructing the administration of justice, he continued. And he says, if you have people coming in, military, ICE, whatever it is, acting beyond their legal authority, they can be prosecuted, assuming they commit crimes in state court. Yeah. And he continues, and they cannot be pardoned by the president, which means that they get to tell a Philadelphia jury exactly why it is that they thought they could invade the city, and they get to bear the consequences, whether they are handcuffs, a jury trial, or a jail sentence, he concluded. Wow. This is exactly the kind of hardline approach we need from all of our Democratic leaders. You're not going to get it. Trump and his minions are breaking the law at every turn, and it's time that we start holding them accountable. These masked ICE agents think that they're above the law as they work to build a MAGA dystopia. They are in for a rude awakening. Okay. By prosecuting any law breakers on a state level, Democrats can circumvent the presidential pardon, which has been irreparably corrupted by Trump. He demonstrated a willingness to abuse it for purely political purposes with his mass pardon of the January 6th insurrectionists. Any plan for fighting back against these Republican criminals must factor in that reality. Yeah, please like and share. Yeah, okay, we just did. Okay. So the technicality, of how it cannot be sort of overturned by a presidential pardon. Can't pardon any sort of ICE agents that are convicted of killing somebody, for instance, which has been going on in Philadelphia State Court. Well, it's Philadelphia. The presidency doesn't have any jurisdiction over Philadelphia because of the Confederation nature of the American Constitution, where states have a certain degree of autonomy, certainly at the level of judiciary.
I think that what you're saying though, see, at this stage of the fight, considering how it's going, people need those who want to fight this on that level are gonna have to have the learn about the Constitution and what how the states and the federal government are separated and connected.
Uh-huh,
That's never talked about.
uh-huh,
Yeah, you have a little class in civic in high school, middle school about they give you a little pamphlet about the Constitution. Considering social studies is not tested by the states. People don't know. Social studies is not tested by the state governments. Only math and science and reading I think are tested. So social studies teachers have a lot of leeway. They have an extreme leeway to this. And they need to there needs to be a push quietly or openly for them to start increase in their constitutional studies. What you're saying, Abraham, the average American cannot debate you because they don't know it.
Mm,
They don't know they don't they figure, well, we got a state. State's part of the federal government, therefore the federal government runs everything.
mm,
That's how people think. But say, well, wait a minute, we got the state government. The state got state police. You got state this agency, this agency. So what's the role between the federal and the state? I would say the average American doesn't know.
yeah,
I would just posit that your astute observation wouldn't be understood, not because people are stupid, not because people don't care, but they're not knowledgeable of how their government really runs. No, they're
yeah.
not. It's
And it's
on
also a matter, a relation, a constitutional question that has not been tested and decided upon. Uh,
that's
is
a good point.
what it says in the Constitution itself with respect to the states and any amendments that pertain to state rights. That's what should be studied and should be
Well,
examined now.
it's, it's interesting you mention this again because it's been my experience over the last year that we've been talking, and I watch other talk shows or the discussion on the internet. It has been people from outside the United States that are
Mm.
much more knowledgeable of these questions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know. I'm just telling you. Yeah, I'm having a discussion with you, and I would just tell you, you probably could go to the average school teacher, the average businessman, the average, even lower level politician, and have a debate, and they wouldn't know how to
they would know.
respond
Yeah,
because they don't know what you're talking about. So it's a
yeah,
very good point you're making.
yeah. And it can go to the extent of determining whether or not states have a right to secede.
Well,
You know,
this is what people have told me. You can't secede unless the government lets you secede. I said, wait a minute. If you want to secede, you don't care about the government. You just secede.
yeah,
Because there's a movement in California for secession. There's a movement to make California an independent republic again.
yeah,
And one of the things they're saying, well, we have to get the Congress approval. I said, no, you don't. If
no,
you want to secede, you get enough people. I mean, you find a way of judging support, you just secede.
yeah,
Now, what's going to happen after that, because
yeah.
you have federal military bases on you. You have some federal agencies on your state on foreign entities on your property now.
Yeah,
What are you going to do with them? And like they have guns and weapons, that kind of thing. What are you going to do
and
with them? That's what you better figure that out.
yeah, and not
But
only that, like nuclear missiles as well. Like get rid of those
right,
too. Yeah,
right. So, but the thesis is we have to ask. I think there may be a law that says you have to. Congress has to give permission. No, they don't. If you want us to
yeah.
see, you secede.
Mm.
You should see. And I was thinking the way that Pritzker and the mayor of Chicago were talking, if Trump invades Illinois, they were talking like, if you come here, we're going to give you something.
Like
They were talking. They were talking kind of a little bit more militant than Gavin Newsom. A little more
yeah,
militant. They're
yeah,
saying, don't even show up here.
yeah.
Most governors do not talk that way. No, they don't. People say,
Like
don't
what you're
you?
saying is that in effect, like this Kresner, district attorney, has declared the independence of Pennsylvania.
He
That's
he
political
it could
independence.
right. He could argue at least a legal independence. He could,
Yeah,
you could, but but I'm saying is that it's just it's a sad state that Crafton doesn't have 100 lawyers behind him.
yeah,
He needs 100 lawyers across the country behind him.
yeah,
Because this seems to be a legal fight right now about what Trump is doing. It
yeah,
hasn't really been, even though there are mass protests today
yeah,
across the country, the mass protests, but
yeah.
those protests haven't turned into political action.
Uh-huh.
There's in the sense of a state senator, a congressman, making a statement or getting the resolution passed, that kind of thing. It's been more
Yeah,
of
yeah,
they've
yeah,
been
yeah,
legal challenges. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
The other
that's
states,
what
they
it is.
should come out in support of this initiative, declare the right to political autonomy, the right to
I think so.
their own political judicial identity. Yeah.
I think so. I just think that, as long as people play around with the US in the sense of with what's happening in the White House, what's happening in the Congress, what's happening with ICE. As long as you play around with them, then they're always going to win. If you stop playing with them,
Yeah.
their victory is not inevitable, nor is it preordained.
Yeah, yeah. This whole sort of, like campaign cannot be treated, like on a one by one basis, like in which each individual migrant, immigrant, goes to court and defends themselves, like no way are they going to be winning, like this is a class action suit, like it's called sometimes. This is,
Yeah,
a general phenomena has to be treated in constitutional terms. Now,
right.
I have an opinion on, state rights. It came to me, while you were talking in that, under natural law, it's called, you know, if a state can join the union, the mechanism by which it joined the union is, of course, the mechanism by which it can disjoin from the union too. So if it was an election, if it was a referendum, whatever, you know, the issue is put before the people and the people decide, whether or not they want to succeed because it's the people who decided that they wanted to join in the first place, right? I think that's natural law.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you're right. And I think that in that sense, then when the California National Party says that you have to get Congress's permission, that's BS,
No,
man.
no,
If I see, for our concern, if a county wants to leave,
yeah.
the county can leave the state. Yes, it can. If it,
Wow.
but again, you
Yeah,
have the police, you have the military who are going to enforce, or the federal government will send troops in. What they'll do is send troops in
yeah,
to occupy, make you stay. That's what they'll do.
yeah,
Because, but if say you had the police and the sheriffs, okay, we're all with you. As long as we have to build up, pay my salary, I don't really give a damn. I mean that kind of thing. But that's what seems to be people seem to be scared. I know there's a movement in Alaska. There's always had a movement for to leave the United States. And as far as where they are located, they're kind of a long ways away. I mean, Hawaii, Virgin Islands, the territories especially. But yeah, no, I do think you're right about that in the sense of Krasner's move is challenging even ICE's ability to do what it's due and to be prosecuted. Because so far, no ICE have been prosecuted by again in California.
yeah.
Nobody's ever prosecuted anybody. They just watch them beat people up. I'm like, dude, and no one's got any names. Have anybody arrested? Sought because they go around with no ID. I
Mm,
mean, no identification. This is unprecedented.
mm,
That you can be an agent of the government because you deal with immigration. You just grab somebody.
yeah.
No, I mean, don't have to prove who you are. There have been reports of fake ICE agents detaining people.
Oh, yeah, they could do that, because
Well,
they
no, 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 no,
not
this has
identified,
happened.
so anybody, like any MAGA person can just pretend to be an ICE agent.
But
Yeah.
assaulting people, that kind of. So this has occurred.
Ah,
So the need for identification again. The Trump either the combination of the media not making a storm about it, the Trump administration saying, "Hey, that's how we play ball," and the opposition. I don't know what the Democratic Party is not putting their foot down on this issue,
mm, mhm,
and politically putting their foot down. That you can't have
mm,
somebody around here.
mm,
At least Border Patrol has a badge. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying yay Border Patrol. At
mm.
least they have a badge.
With a
They have
number
a
on it.
badge.
With a
They have a
number?
badge. They identify themselves. These here, ICE
Uh,
has no identification.
uh,
What gives them the right to be paramilitary extra legal force?
yeah, yeah. If they're not identified and if they're hiding their faces, then what they're doing is illegal. And there's a procedure
Hmm.
that follows from that, that is at the level of each citizen. Each citizen has a right to arrest such a person for the violation of the judicial code because they've not identified themselves and they are aggressing somebody and they don't have any warrant, to take that particular person into
Oh,
custody in any case.
yeah. I
For
mean,
many reasons, that agent is acting in an illegal fashion, which means that any citizen or group of citizens can arrest that ICE agent as a citizen. It's called a citizen's arrest. They hold them in detention until they are transferred to the appropriate police authority, local police or state police or whatever, and then they're put on, accused and put on trial, and they'll lose, you know. That's another way to stop this whole thing, too. Like people don't usually know about it, but a citizen has a right to arrest and any person who's making an infraction.
Well,
So
the
let's do it.
problem, no, I'm not saying what you're saying isn't accurate. It probably, I've heard this before. The challenge would be to where do they take, to whom do they take this detained ICE agent?
To the local police.
Okay, the second they show up with them, the police are going to arrest them. They're going to
So,
arrest them for, though they're going to arrest the people who've been doing it. They'll find some charge because the FBI will tell the cops when they show up, you better arrest them for so and so. Cops say, yes, boss, yes, boss. That's what they'll do. I mean,
yeah.
there's nowhere they can take them beside where the UN. There's no international criminal court ombudsman or office downtown where I can drop them off. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not dissing what you're saying, but the reality is that once you detain them, where do you take them?
Uh-huh.
There's no way, the federal government will arrest you on the spot the second you show up with them.
Uh-huh.
If I come in with a handcuffed ICE agent walking them up the steps of the federal court, God knows I'm gonna be arrested the second I get out the car.
Well, in Philadelphia, it might be possible.
Yeah, oh my God, that's true. That's true.
Like once it
So,
works, like the first time, everybody's going to want to do it too. You know.
well, maybe the test case will happen in Philadelphia. We,
Yeah.
we need a test case. We need some citizens arrest. Bring them in.
Yeah, bring them in, hand them
Bring
over
them
to,
in.
some police who have some sense to them. You have to know which cop is which, and contact that particular cop, hand it over to that cop. The cops puts them into the cage and locks the door. That's it.
Woo! What? That'll be the beginning of the revolution.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh no, not
Yeah, I
sitting
mean,
in
like people would be,
jail.
like dancing in the street.
No, well, that's an interesting point. I think we've touched some new ground here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's possible. This is all possible.
It's all about, it sounds like a
Yeah.
very good, very good, very good,
Yeah.
very good probability. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what, happens when you talk about things out, like
Here's your, here's your
oh,
graph.
yeah.
So the blue is the employment at the plants with the employment as the blue goes down, the automation goes up, and it looks like in about 5 years or so. No, maybe no, this is 2025. So it's like maybe 2026.
Uh-huh.
No, about 2030, about 2030,
Yeah.
you'll hit the inflection point, and then the automation will continue to rise, and the number of people employed in these plants will begin to fall eh, linearly, if not exponentially.
Can you expand that graph? Can you make it larger? Click on it or
Let's
something?
see.
Yeah, that's it.
Uh,
Let's see what it
where
looks like.
the graph disappeared?
Oh,
No, it's miss here. I don't think, yeah,
no. Okay.
I don't think so. I'm sorry, but anyway, we can work on that for next time.
But that's a beautiful graph, like who's talking about that?
No
Nobody.
one,
Yeah,
we're saying things in this show people are not saying anywhere else.
that's right.
I'm saying, even if, for example, you could get an average of how many people work at Tesla's Las Vegas and Fremont plant, or a GM plant, whatever. Just take a plant. Take 5 plants and take an average. Okay, so that the values we know the average is 200 people, whatever, 500 people, 1,000 people. Okay, and Trump gets 3 plants. Okay, he
Yeah.
gets 3,000 jobs. Well, that's really something. You have a population of 3 million, 350 million people, and all you can get is all you can create is 3,000 jobs in major industry. You haven't done too much.
Uh-huh.
How about making Raytheon and Boeing hire more people? Oh,
Uh,
how about doing that? I'm
mhm.
gonna say no, those industries already exist.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Raytheon. But I'm gonna say it, I'm gonna say I want the war industry, but they're already there, and they
Plus,
go home.
now all the corporations are saying they're going to be laying off people because of the tariffs.
Hmm. That's why they can't hire anybody.
Yeah. I wonder what the numbers are on the side here. Is this the number of employed? Because,
Yes,
we can do some calculations here. If you
the
can just look at
employment, the
unemployment
employment in
itself.
thousand, right? The employment in thousand is the dependent variable on this one was one. Employment over here is robot density per 10,000 employees.
Can you
So
click on the graphic itself?
let me see.
Just
Not
on
it's
the
not
graphic itself, click.
no, it doesn't
No,
get
it's
bigger.
not. It's just,
Yeah.
oh,
There you go. There you go. I got
oh, okay, now. Okay. So now we're here in 2025. So it's about, the level of
right here. We're right about here.
employment in thousands. Okay. So now we've got in thousands, so that's 1,200,000, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's 1,200,000. I don't know why. Is this,
And
only, oh,
figures
in
and
manufacturing.
right
This is,
and
the heavy industry. Okay.
right
So
and the
1,200,000. So it's
and
going to
the
go down to, let's say in 2040, it's going to go down to 1,000. So that means there's a difference of like 500,000, right?
yeah, right.
500,000 people are going to be unemployed in the next 5 years.
Within these industries, yes.
Yeah.
Based on this prediction.
And that's the best paid workers, the workers who call themselves middle class
Yeah, well,
workers.
the ones who work in robot density auto and appliance manufacturing, which is where most of the robots are used in making automobiles or
Yeah.
making appliances. We're not talking about chip making. It's probably less in chip making because
Yeah. Mm.
much
And
less in chip
and
making. Right,
war production is something that's not included here as well.
right, yeah,
So
true. War production not included. That's very
yeah.
true. Very
So
true. Very
this
true.
is the most labor intensive industries right
Right,
here.
right,
Okay.
right,
So
right.
that means we've just calculated 500,000 are going to be unemployed in the next 5 years,
Yeah.
100,000 per year. So by the
Based on
time the
this,
next
yes.
election comes about, there's going to be 300,000 unemployed because of
Robotics.
robotics. And
Yeah.
Trump can do nothing about it.
He won't even talk. He won't. If somebody brought a graph like this up in a damn debate, they kill him. They wipe him out. Oh, bring this graph up. One graph. That's all you have to do. Bring this graph into the debate.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
give it. Just give it to the politician here. Show this during the debate. Don't worry. Just bring it up.
Yeah.
You'll win. Just,
Yeah.
just bring this because nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
As people, as more robotic, and it's like AI, anything else.
Uh,
Once they decide to change the paradigm,
yeah.
once the computer started coming in, what do we have now?
Yeah.
We use computers like people clean themselves after a bowel movement, right? It's just like you do it. It's part of using the bathroom is cleaning yourself. Part of dealing with this world now is having a computer, right? Yes.
Yeah.
They give kids computers in school to use, right? They give them to them to use. The parents don't even have to buy one.
Yeah.
So this is what's happening. Our graph could be off, sure, it's going to be off. It's just a predictive graph.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to say that opening plans will create large numbers of employment based on this plan,
Mm.
it doesn't look like it's going to create. It's going to go down
Yeah.
because the robots will be much more productive than the humans could ever be.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Uh,
Okay, that's so so if Sailor makes some money, what if I were a money making person, so if I wanted to invest, I'd invest in the robot companies.
mm. So,
You know.
the corporations are going to be lowering their costs, not having to pay salaries, getting more efficient production out of the robots.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
where are those profits going to go? Well, they're going to stay up there in the 1%. They're
It
not
sure
coming
will.
down to the people.
Oh,
Okay, so
that's not coming, and it's not going to be no more money for the workers. They're
no,
going to pay them less.
no, no, no.
They pay
Workers
them
are,
less.
like, oh yeah, we'll pick out a few workers, who are, obedient enough, and give them a slight raise,
Yeah,
and the rest, are going
okay.
to be thrown out the door. Okay, so That's, like, and our politicians talking about this? No, as you said, they're not talking,
No,
nobody's talking
no,
about this. Why are
no.
they not talking about this? Because if they show this to the people, they have to say how they're going to solve the problem, and they don't
Right.
know how to solve the problem. Now, to solve the
It's,
problem, you have to basically become a socialist, because you have to provide, like
yeah,
for every citizen to be able to, live comfortably, at
you
the
have
standard
to
of
at
living that
least
they become
provide
accustomed
basic,
to.
at least
So
at least basic income has to be part of the conversation.
yeah,
Because
guaranteed basic income.
if this trend continues, especially in these large manufacturing industries, which is where most people get their job, I mean, they say small people, but now the small people get messed up because the tariffs are messed. They're laying people off because the tariffs are causing them to have to raise prices and not be able to buy stock. So the whole thing, Trump. By the time if Trump's here in 4 years, the economy has got to suck.
Mm,
I mean, it can't. No,
yeah,
no. That's why I'm wondering what's going to happen next 6 months to a year.
yeah,
2 years from now, you got to
yeah,
look at what's going to happen during the midterm election because
yeah,
this graph shows you. Even if this graph is off a little bit, it's based on data we got from public sources. It's not something that I made up.
yeah,
So this is what's going on. Yeah, that's it.
yeah. Oh, well, so this is okay. So now
Yeah.
the unemployed, are they going to be offered, like a basic, guaranteed basic income? Are they going to be provided, with
Wait.
all the social services necessary
Oh
that
yeah.
a socialist,
Mhm.
economy would provide, for all the basic rights of people to be able to live, etc.? No.
No.
What are they
Huh?
going to do? They don't want, people to have this freedom, that degree of freedom, because, they'll keep on, voting to get more of the economic freedom that they were granted in the first place.
Mhm.
Basic income, is not going to be enough. Next they want to have something to do. So they want free tuition to go to university so they can study and become something other than, a couch surfer. So, it starts a ball rolling that they can't stop. So let's think, what can they do, to solve the problem and not allow, the people to get control of their own country? So, what are they going to do? I think they're going to offer people a job in the military,
Yeah. That's what I'm ready to say.
the
Yeah.
police.
Go,
You
go
know, that
fight somebody.
yeah, that's what they're going to use the money for. That they can, you know, pick off the profits and use them, to militarize, the unemployed, who are thrown out the door. Okay, are they going to go for it? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah. Maybe. Maybe not.
Yeah,
That's a good question.
turning
That's
point.
good.
Yeah,
That's a good question.
yeah. And it's
Well,
up to us to
well,
tell the workers, like they don't have to, like go and put their life on the balance, in order to get some bucks on the other side. No.
because once you put your life on the balance, your life might be taken.
Yeah, like you're there, you've offered your life, for the sake of the state. So, what's the state going to do? They're going to have, like how many soldiers are there now? Like if maybe I heard, that the United States has like a lot of soldiers, already sort of on the payroll. So they get even more soldiers, which means they can do whatever they want in the world. Just, flood any sort of, problem area of the world, with its soldiers, with boots on the ground and just take over, anything that they want to, together with, all the technology that's being produced by the by the war industries. So to protect the homeland, with Patriot missiles, yes, sir. Like in the rest, they can be sacrificed somewhere or other and make some use of them, in the global crusade that the United States has declared. So we'll see this, and then Trump, calls himself a peacemaker too, like on top of it all, like I can't believe this. The arms are still going to Israel, to devastate
Oh
Gaza.
yeah.
Still
Oh
happening.
yeah. Well, they're going to Israel. They're going anywhere they want to send them. The arms are still being shipped.
Yeah, yeah,
Just don't let anybody fool you on that one.
yeah.
but we're cutting off supplies. Nah, I don't believe it.
No,
That's a ton of bank robber.
no,
I'm gonna retire. I don't believe it.
no. It's more likely that they're preparing, to do a big job on Iran. Uh, they just
Yeah,
wiped
this
out the
is
prime
what.
minister of Yemen.
Yeah, this is what the the geopolitical analysts are saying that
Mm,
the move by Europe to the move by Europe to claim that Iran isn't following the JCPOA is going to be used as a provocation to attack Iran again.
yeah,
Even though the U.S. dropped out of the JCPOA
uh,
years ago wasn't it under Trump? I think it was under Trump. They dropped
yeah,
out the JCPOA. Yeah.
mm,
So I mean, so what is Europe trying to prove now?
yeah,
I don't understand.
yeah.
But I mean, that whole
Europe
thing
is
with
preparing
Iran
for
is so
war. They're increasing their military budget to 5% of the national budget.
right,
They're all
right.
ready to go for it. Yeah.
Right. And the way that they're doing that, remember Boris Johnson said the Americans are used to only having 2 weeks of vacation a year. Here in Europe, we have a month or a month and a half. We have to make Europeans be more like Americans. He should have said more
Mm.
like the stupid Americans. That's what he was saying.
Yeah,
Americans don't, Americans don't even challenge it.
yeah. Well, good luck, like trying to take away a month's of vacation from people.
Yeah, I don't think people go
No
for that.
way. Yeah,
Taking away
yeah.
vacation time. And but
No,
Trump tried to say recently, Trump said people don't want a vacation. They're tired of people. Yeah, nobody, no one agrees with him on that one.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
Well, okay. I'd just like to add on in conclusion here, that the
Yes.
refer again, to the photo in the back here. This is my favorite photo. These are the Jewish resistance. This is Jewish resistance fighters. Like starving. But they're still, ready to fight. And they were the ones who were called terrorists by the Nazis. And now the Zionists are doing the same, for the Palestinian resistance fighters who are being called terrorists as well, even though they are the fighters of the people's fighters who are defending the people. Otherwise, the people would be killed off. That's what happened in the Sabra Shatila refugee camps in Lebanon when the fighters, the 13,000 Fatah fighters with Yasser Arafat, left for Tunisia, being assured by the United States of America that the refugees would be protected. Well, they were slaughtered. And the
So,
same
yeah.
thing would
Well.
happen in Gaza. And this is, what I want to tell the next demonstration here in Montreal. And this cannot be allowed to happen. The only way to
Oh,
stop it from happening is by armed resistance of this nature here in this photo.
there you go.
Okay, great. Okay, until next week then.
Until next week, please, everybody who's watching, please like, share, spread the word. Give
Yeah,
us your comments.
share it to
And
people,
remember that we are involved in the struggles. We're not just reporting news. We give
Yeah,
analysis based on what we see and having some longitudinal history in these struggles, bringing some ideas that are usually dismissed by those who want to call themselves leaders.
yeah. This is strategizing. We have got to strategize, otherwise we get lost.
Right. That's right.